Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has drawn criticism from China this week after suggesting Japan could respond with force to a hypothetical Chinese attack on Taiwan.
China has summoned the Japanese ambassador over comments made by his Prime Minister on Taiwan.
Tensions between China and Japan flared up recently after Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi made some comments about Taiwan. In Parliament, Takaichi said that if China attacked Taiwan, it could create a survival-threatening situation for Japan. That's a big deal because under Japanese law, that kind of wording could let Japan send its military to defend Taiwan. Beijing wasn't happy about this, since China has always been careful about how it talks about a possible Taiwan conflict. China reacted strongly. Since they see Taiwan as part of their country, they view Takaichi's statement as serious interference in their internal affairs. Beijing demanded that the comment be withdrawn, calling it wrong and dangerous, and even summoned the Japanese ambassador to lodge a strong protest. The situation got even tenser when China warned its citizens to think twice before traveling to Japan. State media also made it clear that any Japanese involvement in Taiwan would be firmly opposed. To show its seriousness, the Chinese military even carried out live fire exercises in the Yellow Sea. All in all, this episode shows just how serious the disagreement between these two powerful countries has become.
But why exactly did China react so strongly? To understand, you need to look at history, law, and geopolitics all at once. For China, Taiwan is not just a piece of land. It is a core part of the country's sovereignty and identity. Any comment by foreign leaders suggesting that Taiwan could be defended by outside forces touches on China's red lines. Imagine it this way. If someone told you that they might step into your home and intervene in how you handle your family matters, you would likely feel offended or even threatened. That's essentially how China sees Japan's remarks. Beijing's position is that Taiwan has been part of Chinese territory since ancient times, and while there was a complicated historical period in the early 20th century, Taiwan's legal and historical status as part of China is widely recognized internationally. One major point often cited by China is the Potsdam Declaration of 1945. At the end of World War II, Japan officially surrendered and renounced all claims to territories it had seized during its imperial expansion, including Taiwan. The declaration, which was supported by the Allied powers, effectively restored Taiwan to Chinese sovereignty. In other words, according to international agreements made nearly 80 years ago, Taiwan is considered part of China. Over the decades, this principle has been reaffirmed repeatedly. The United Nations, for example, in Resolution 2758 in 1971, recognized the People's Republic of China as the legitimate government of China, including Taiwan. So, from China's perspective, Taiwan is not up for debate, and any external attempts to intervene are considered meddling in internal affairs. This brings us back to Takaichi's comments. By framing a Chinese attack on Taiwan as a survival-threatening situation for Japan, she essentially implied that Japan could or should take military action if a Taiwan conflict occurred. From Beijing's viewpoint, that is not just political talk. It's a signal of potential foreign interference in a matter that China considers entirely internal. And when a foreign leader steps into what Beijing considers a core interest, it naturally triggers a strong response. China's anger is also amplified by historical memory. Japan's colonial rule over Taiwan from 1895 to 1945 left deep scars in the region. While Japan handed Taiwan back to China after the war, any suggestion of stepping in militarily is perceived as a reminder of past aggression, making the remarks feel even more provocative.
Another angle to consider is the context of regional stability. China sees itself as a rising power in Asia, and Taiwan is not just symbolic, it's strategic. Taiwan sits in a critical location in the first island chain off China's coast, controlling key sea routes. From Beijing's perspective, allowing outside powers to interfere in Taiwan's affairs would threaten both sovereignty and national security.
So when Japan makes a statement that could justify military action in Taiwan, it's not merely a political comment. It's viewed as a challenge to China's security and authority in its own neighborhood. Let's put it in another way. Think of Taiwan as a family heirloom that has been passed down for generations. You wouldn't take kindly to a neighbor suggesting they have a right to step in and decide how it's handled. That's how China frames Taiwan, a core part of its national home that outsiders should not meddle with. And from Beijing's standpoint, Japan's words cross that boundary. It's also worth noting that Japan has been trying in recent years to redefine its military posture. After decades of a mostly defensive stance, Japan has been increasingly vocal about regional threats and expanding its security policies. Statements like Takaichi are part of that shift, but they also risk inflaming tensions with China. Beijing sees this as a move that could destabilize the region rather than protect it. Some might argue that Japan is simply concerned about its own security, especially given China's growing military capabilities. And while that may be true, China's response shows that there are limits to what the country will tolerate from external actors. For China, sovereignty and territorial integrity are non-negotiable. Any hint that another nation might intervene in what it considers a domestic matter is unacceptable, regardless of the reason given. This tension is not new either. China and Japan have had a long history of disputes, from the Second World War to maritime disagreements in the East China Sea. Each time Japan takes a step that could be seen as encroaching on Chinese sovereignty, it triggers strong reactions. The Taiwan comment is just the latest spark in a history full of sensitive points. At the same time, China's reaction also sends a clear message internationally. By summoning the Japanese ambassador, issuing travel advisories, and carrying out military drills, Beijing is showing that it takes these matters seriously. It's a form of signaling. Other countries should understand that Taiwan is a red line for China, and any attempt to cross it could have consequences. This is a common practice in international relations. Every country has red lines, and China is making sure its is understood. In the eyes of many analysts, this isn't about aggression but about clarity. China wants to make it clear to both domestic and international audiences that Taiwan is not up for debate and that foreign governments should refrain from meddling. From Beijing's perspective, these measures are both defensive and precautionary, designed to prevent misunderstandings from escalating into conflict. Ultimately, what's happening here reflects a broader reality of modern geopolitics. Rising powers like China are increasingly assertive about defending their core interests, while neighboring countries with historical grievances or security concerns are trying to adjust to a changing balance of power. Missteps or careless remarks like Takaichi can quickly escalate tensions, even without any immediate threat of conflict. The takeaway is clear. For China, Taiwan is non-negotiable, and any attempt by Japan or any other country to intervene is considered a serious breach of international norms and a direct challenge to Chinese sovereignty. The strong response from Beijing, including diplomatic protests and military exercises, is a reminder of how high the stakes are in East Asia today. Looking forward, it's likely that China will continue to assert its position firmly, while Japan and other countries in the region will need to carefully navigate their own security concerns without crossing China's red lines. Misunderstandings or misstatements could easily escalate tensions, making dialogue and clarity all the more important. In short, China's anger over Takaichi's remark is rooted in history, law, geography, and national security. Taiwan is not just a strategic asset, it's part of China's identity and sovereignty. And Japan's statement, intentionally or not, touched a sensitive nerve by implying that outside intervention could be justified. That's why Beijing responded with both words and actions, making it crystal clear that Taiwan remains firmly within China's domain, and any meddling will not be taken lightly. So what do you think? Do you agree with our video? Tell us what you think by leaving your comments below. And if you like what you watched, make sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to show your support.